production with its pronounced consequences on agricultural productivity as well as on the smallholder farmer. Yes, we see that there is an opportunity here, despite the fact that, of course, the sub-Saharan Africa share of global fertilizer use, even though it's currently small, we notice that there has been sustained year-on-year growth of 8%. And we think that we need to take an opportunity from this sustained growth. Of course, if you have to do that, we have to make sure that there is access to reliable and high-quality data that would help to inform decision-making. However, this data is currently not available for us to be able to use to understand the needs of and priorities of key stakeholders or decision makers within the industry. And so it is for this reason that the VIFAA project program was conceptualized. And so in Ghana, we have been working with partners to build this dashboard with the expectation that it would help improve and manage and visualize fertilizer data in Africa as well as Ghana. Yes, so the road to the building of this dashboard, of course, it started with a study of the fertilizer sector in Africa. And then we conducted a full value chain analysis of the fertilizer industry or sector in Ghana, followed by a Ghana dashboard scoping study. Of course, to understand what data is available and who has this data. Of course, based on that, we held the co-design workshop in Elmina in February 2020 to prioritize the data that we had gathered with all stakeholders. And we used that to develop the prototype dashboard, which we met in Akosombo early this year, that was March 2020, to showcase it and then to get more feedback. And since then, between January to September, we have been having some discussions with the various stakeholders. And I think I would want to say that we were so glad to hear your feedback on this dashboard. I know in the Akosombo meeting, there were so many inputs into it, and we have incorporated some of those suggestions into the dashboard. So we are here today to launch the dashboard. Of course, we've had some feedbacks that we haven't yet incorporated, and these would be done post-launch. There are so many ideas out there that we had. So what are the other dashboards in other countries? Kenya, we launched the dashboard in September 2020. Post-launch, we have been working on the Kenya dashboard. For example, we've used the Innovation Fund to really look at the retail price, availability, and a mix of other indicators. The Kenyan Fertilizer Subsidy Policy was changed to reflect the e-voucher system, which we have worked with the government in Kenya to let this reflect in the dashboard. As well, currently, stakeholders in the Kenyan fertilizer sector are currently using the dashboard to inform their decisions. In Nigeria, we launched that of Nigeria in June 2021. The dashboard in Nigeria has some similarities with Ghana's dashboard. However, there are a few unique features. For example, we have the crop production and the production map. That's it. And then also we have the retail price, which is similar to Ghana, and the plant information. Nigeria also exports a lot of urea, and so that is also reflected in the Nigeria dashboard. Yes, so we have what we call the Innovation Fund. Of course, this project was focused on using existing data that is available to develop the dashboard. However, we have noticed that there are other data that are needed to make decisions in the fertilizer sector. And so we have given opportunity to that, to make sure that those data that are really relevant and we have existing data gaps, we need to work on that to support. So we use the Innovation Fund. So whilst we are developing the dashboard with the existing data, we're also looking at working to identify and fill priority data gaps in the country. And the focus of the Innovation Fund is to pool resources that are available to respond to and learn from new methods to collect or analyze data. And then also we work in partnership with a number of organizations to do that, including the partnering with private sector, NGOs, and government institutions. Currently, the VIFAA program has hired a consultancy firm known as QED, and they have already started engaging with a number of stakeholders in Ghana to be able to support us collect data on cropland. We want to look at how we can disaggregate this cropland data by districts as well as by regions. Currently, we have that of the national data, but we have not had that disaggregated. And so we are going to play a video on that to show you how the QED team has been preparing to collect this information. So Sam, if you can play the video. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you all so much for the invitation to present with you today. Apologies that we're not able to either be there in person or be presenting live with you, but we hope to be able to interact with you all in the future regarding some of our work in Ghana. So as I said, I'm with QED, and we are leading component from VIFAA around cropland in Ghana in collaboration with the IFDC and Development Gateway. So quickly, QED is a social enterprise, and it stands for Quantitative Engineering Design. And principally, we build data systems and artificial intelligence to empower organizations working within the realm of health and agriculture. We consist of approximately 25 software engineers plus domain expertise in medicine and agriculture. So myself, my background's in crop science, soil science, and agronomy. And more or less, we try to use commercial strategies to make a difference towards social goods and social outcomes. Now, some of the other people included in the slide includes Jiehua Chen. She's one of the co-founders and leads the statistics components of the organization. And William Wu, whose background is in computer science and mathematics, and he's the CEO and kind of organizes many things around the company. Projects that are active currently around the world, although for the most years or so we've been focusing on applications and use cases in sub-Saharan Africa, but we also have current operations in South Asia. And some of our donors include some of the same ones that are funding this particular program within VIFAA, so the Gates Foundation, but we've worked with a variety of other organizations around Africa. Again, principally focusing on agriculture and health. So we're brought in for this project to do land use and land cover mapping is that really across the world and across Africa, there's really a large lack of good quality and modern agricultural land use maps. This example comes from Nigeria, and prior to some of our work in Nigeria, the closest or the most recent maps that we could find were several decades old, and we're really lacking a lot of information across the country just in general. We've been doing a little bit of background research in Ghana, and we found similar things in Ghana to we find in Nigeria and other parts of the world, where even if you have maps that are more recent, for instance, the one on the left is from 2016, the one on the right is from 2018, you either get a couple of things. Either you get a national scale map that's really coarse level resolution, so that's what we see on the left from 2016, or you get very high resolution maps, but for very small parts of the country. And that's what we see on the right from 2018 in northern Ghana. So there's missing this piece where we have very high resolution and national scale maps across the many regions of the world. And this is some of the areas where we have developed expertise over the past 10 years or so. Like I said, following from our work in Nigeria within VIFAA, we're now moving into Ghana to assist with project development. We recently did and completed some work through VIFAA in Nigeria, and this includes really the first high-resolution national scale cropland map for the country. It's represented here in yellow. What we're seeing is all the different yellow pieces are individual pixels, so 10 by 10 level pixels, 10 meter by 10 meter pixels for the entire country. And we were able to do this in a couple of months, and we hope to replicate some of the methodologies that we did for Nigeria with applications for Ghana. So besides just producing the pixel level map, we were able to produce an agricultural statistics summary map. In this case, this was states across Ghana. And we'll send you the links to all of these components after the meeting. I think the folks from Development Gateway can provide you that, or we can be linked directly via email. But so what you would do is if you look at the different states on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, the aggregate statistics would be summarized looking at total area and total cropland, and then percentages of cropland versus total area. And this is some of the derivative products that we can do coming up from some of our mapping products. So, we'd really like to get some feedback from you all, either in public sector or private sector, to understand more when we produce this map for Ghana, what are some of the use cases that we would particularly like that we can provide for you. So in this case, for Nigeria, the FAO had summarized agricultural production at 34 million hectares, which had been largely unchanged since 2013. And our modern, this was 2020 assessment, was 42, almost 43 million hectares. So quite a significant change from what were supported from the FAO. So the process, I'd like to go with you through the process that we use to create some of these maps. We have a annotation service, or annotation tool called Geosurvey. And what Geosurvey does is it takes some satellite imagery that's available publicly. The blue areas, the blue boxes, these are randomly sampled across whatever particular area that we're wanting to map. And this is fed through our system to some surveyors. And the surveyors then use some digital tools to annotate what we see on the map. So in this case, they would click on the orange button on the right-hand side, and the orange button identifies cropland. So then what the geosurveys would do is they would outline all of the different croplands that they see within the blue box using that orange tool. And that's what we see happened here in this particular image. So all of the orange sections kind of right in the middle of the blue box, or the left-hand side of the blue box, those are all croplands, and the geosurvey had identified them and outlined them. So what we do with this program is if we take some samples from Geosurvey across the samples, we can collect representative of the entire country that would normally take tens of years, if not hundreds of years, to do it manually for every single region across the whole country. And through AI, have this data then plug into our artificial intelligence, which is AI system, and create then the national scale map of months, rather than taking decades to, let's say, for Nigeria estimated, if you were to manually outline 100% of the land area just using Geosurvey, it would be over 100 years and multi-million dollars just to do that. So we can do this at a fraction of the time, again, months, and at a fraction of the cost at the national scale. So then what we do from the Geosurvey is we want to stratify the Geosurvey to the different regions or different agroecological zones that we see within individual countries. So just like our artificial intelligence system has to be calibrated, we have to also calibrate the geosurveyors to be able to correctly identify what some of the visual indicators are for agriculture. So in case of Ghana, we separated the country into two broad regions, the north and the eastern region, which is represented on the right with a lighter shade of green, and the south and the western region, which is represented on the right in a darker shade of green. Excuse me. And the reason why we did this is on the two images on the top show some of the northern and eastern areas that are more dry, more savanna-type landscapes. And in the southwest region, of course, what you know is much more humid, where you see a lot of the agroforestry system, sort of a shifting agricultural cultivation. So we separated into these large regions, and then we ran sort of randomized geosurvey sampling across these different regions. And then what we do is put it all together. So the image on the bottom left is showing, a visual representation of some of our samples from Geosurvey. Of course, we would use, tens of thousands of these samples. And then we take some satellite imagery that's publicly available. In this case, we're using Sentinel-2, which was produced by the European Space Agency and has a spatial resolution of 10 meters by 10 meters per pixel. And we ran both of those into our artificial intelligence system, and then our artificial intelligence then uses the relationships that it's finding between some of the satellite imagery data and the geosurvey data to be able to produce and infer the cropland distribution across the entire country. And so this is the exact system and process that we use to map Nigeria, and this is the same system and processes that we're using to map Ghana. So each of the maps that we produce, we want to be able to assess independently what is the level of precision and accuracy that we see for our individual mapping components. And in this case, drawing from Nigeria, we're able to access present field surveys plus past field surveys that was altogether around 15,000 plus georeferenced data points of what was happening in a particular region around the country. So what was it, crops were grown there, or was it natural lands, or whatever the land use was. And so we're able to use that to train, not to train, but to test what our outputs from our mapping were saying. So is it actually seeing what it's supposed to be seeing? And in this case, we were finding that precision and accuracy were quite high. So we had accuracy of around 84% and precision of around 97%. And that's represented in the first row of this table that you're seeing here, highlighted in bold. And we're also able to use our georeferenced ground data points to also assess the accuracy and precision of all of the competing products out there. So the next row down from our row is a map that was produced at the global level by the United States Geological Survey. Below that is one produced by the European Space Agency, and below that was one produced by Tsinghua University in China. And as we can compare all the different levels of accuracy and precision, we're finding consistently that the product that we're developing is having a higher level of accuracy and precision relative to all the other products out there. So we believe that based on our experience, based on our processes, and based on our sort of ground sampling strategy, we're able to produce really the highest quality product that's available. So within Ghana, as I mentioned, we'll be using our Geosurvey platform to collect a lot of satellite imagery data and annotate those imagery data. In parallel, we're partnering with FarmerLine. If you don't know them, they're a local organization based in Ghana that has done a lot of similar ground data collection in the past for other mapping products, as well as having their own system of, I think it's agricultural service provision, so fertilizers and seeds. So we'll be partnering with them to collect ground data, a couple thousand data points distributed across the country, and then we'll use this data then to assess the accuracy and precision independently from the map that will be produced in Ghana. And we'll be executing this field survey with FarmerLine in the next couple of months or so, hopefully to get people on the ground in the end of September and probably running through October. And then some of the use cases that Development Gateway and IFDC has been highlighting is they want to take some of this information coming from the cropland maps that we'll be producing and then derive some relevant statistics relating to agricultural use and consumption. So fertilizer use by crop, fertilizer use across the country. And so some of the data that we'll be using will be funneling into some of the products that Development Gateway and IFDC are co-making, which is the purpose of this launch that we have today. So some of the next steps from our end, we'll be looking at producing the first cropland map product in the end of 2021 to the beginning of 2022. In the near term, it would be great to have any feedback from you all. If you have any data points or data that you have that you might want to contribute to some of our, let's say, independent validation, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. Also, we really want to know how can these maps be better used or meet the uses and needs of both the public sector and private sector communities. So besides just producing the raw data, we're able to use different sorts of visualizations to make the data more digestible and have a targeted use case. So please, if you have any ideas or want to reach out to us, we have a contact below, gh@qed.ai. Please send us a message or contact Charlene or Fred or anybody from Development Gateway or IFPC, and we'll be happy to contact you with us directly. So thank you for the time. Again, sorry we couldn't be there today. Happy to be involved in this project and hope to be working with you all very soon.
Okay, thank you. So I think just to finalize the overview of VIFAA and to give some context to what we've just heard from QED, as VIFAA from both AFO and DG, one of our the data gaps that was identified by all stakeholders was, of course, a top-line indicator of the kg per hectare. So from what we've just seen, QED, working with QED would support the program to support the denominator, so the hectare part of that, because it has been a challenge to measure that without, and we all know this, without satellite technology. But to further emphasize, QED will be working with Farmerline, IFDC, and DG, and we will strictly adhere to Ghana data privacy regulations, and the data that we collected will be to the use and integrated to the VIFAA Ghana dashboard. So just summarize that. Thank you for listening to the overview of the dashboard, and I'll hand it over to the MC.
Shall we give a hand of applause? As mentioned, very soon we'll be leaving here. I would like to invite Sebastian to take us through the panel discussion. It's going to be very brief. May I, at this point, acknowledge Robin Wheeler, Engra's COP. AFO says they are very grateful because you've supported them all this while. They are very grateful. Mr. Sebastian, your turn. Take us through the panel discussion. Thank you.
Very much. No one seems to applaud the work of the MC. A round of applause for Tanko, please. So now we're going to the next step, which I believe is pretty. So as we get to dissect things as more depth, so I'd like to call the ladies and gentlemen up to join us at the podium up here for the panel discussions. So on to our first guest from the Ghana Fertilizer Expansion Program, GFEP. I'd like to call upon Mr. Ernest Osei Asibe. A round of applause as he joins us on stage. Thank you very much, Mr. Ernest. I love your shot. I think we'll talk after this. Thank you very much, sir. And I'd like to also call upon Madam Nana Aisha Mohammed. Please join us on stage. A round of applause as she joins us. Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you very much. I'd also like to call on stage from Angre, one of IFDC's partners, Mr. Kido Kuasi. Please join us on stage. Looking very sharp, Mr. Kido. Thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to your wisdom in the region. And last but not least, I'd reserved this particular name because I don't know how to describe him. He's one of the smartest doctors I know in IFDC. He's done tremendous work in the Ghana sector. So a round of applause for Dr. Prem Binjaban. Please join us on stage. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm hoping I'll do the panel discussion justice with such a well-endowed panel. Thank you, Dr. Prem. Thank you for joining us. Anyone else who wants to join the panel? Okay. Your chance is gone. So thank you for taking the time. If If you don't mind me, I'll be moving around a little bit. I don't like being confined in a chair. So thank you. Once again, we are here to put matters in the Ghana fertilizer sector to perspective. And you've been chosen for various reasons. You are experts in your own ways and in your own region, and you're better placed to help us and to help the participants who've joined us today in addressing matters fertilizer in Ghana. So without further ado, my first question will actually be from a global perspective, because just as recent as yesterday, one of the biggest consumers of fertilizer, if I can put it that way, India, just issued a tender for about 1 million tons of product. And because sub-Saharan African countries are interlinked, we depend primarily on imports of fertilizer for our farmers. So if something happens in India or in the Middle East, it has a direct impact in the Ghana space. So I'll start with Mr. Kido Kuwasi, who's a sub-regional coordinator for ANGRE for West Africa. What are your views on availability from a global perspective?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Thank you, Sebastian, and thank you, everyone. So this is a very interesting question, and these are interesting times indeed, because since I joined the fertilizer space, this is the first time I heard so much about fertilizer in the mainstream news, right? And it shows that people are starting to realize how important fertilizer is. So it is quite interesting, but quite unfortunate that it is only now that we start to think about it. And to answer the question, the current level of fertilizer availability really depends on who you are and what you want, right? So in Africa, if you're a smallholder farmer in Africa, depending on subsidy to get your fertilizer, of course, you have a hard time finding. Now, if you're a big producer in Brazil or in India, and you are sure of selling your product, you knew the fertilizer was going to go high, yes, it is available for you. So I think that's how I can answer this question at this time.
The reason why I asked that question, Mr. Kido, is because someone in the participants might not have all the details as to why there might be shortages in the region or lack thereof. So if you could put into perspective the correlation between what happens in the global market and also how that is linked to what happens in the Ghana market, so that we can explain to that particular individual how those two are related.
Okay, thank you again. So Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa and West Africa, in particular Ghana, doesn't have a local production of fertilizer, right? So all the fertilizer that we use here are imported mainly. And because of that, they depend on the availability of those fertilizer ingredients and the fertilizer on the international market to have the fertilizer. But even at that, the consumption in our countries are so small that we are the least of the problems of the suppliers, right? And in addition, the international, so when there are issues on the international market, right, like now, when there are issues, we are kind of left out of it. So currently, when you look at the fertilizer space, what is happening? Everything that could go wrong and make the fertilizer and put pressure on the fertilizer sector have gone wrong. So if you look at the demand for it, demand has increased. Why? because there is anticipated increase in food price. So because of that, big players internationally, Brazil, we mentioned it, the corn production in the US, all those are asking for fertilizer because they know they are going to sell their product high, right? So demand has increased. You look at supply, where supply should also increase to match the demand, right? And supply was starting to do that, but a couple of issues or some issues happened that supply also couldn't catch up. Supply was actually reduced. When you look at the increase in one of the feedstock in the production of urea, which is one of the fertilizer that is most used, right? The increase in the price of natural gas has caused some big producer of urea to limit their production. Okay. When you look at also some natural disaster that happened that caused some factories to close, and in addition to mechanical factory policy that came into play, right? The production of potassium in Belarus has been kind of banned in the US because of some political issue. So this came and added to the already existing issue, making fertilizer difficult, the fertilizer space difficult at the global level. And this puts a lot of pressure on Africans because, as I mentioned, we are the smallest consumer, and they will serve the big one first with what is available.
Kido. So what I'm hearing from Mr. Kido is that the prices in country for most sub-Saharan African countries in terms of fertilizer are heavily reliant or dependent on the international scene. So if some event is happening that to affect the price of fertilizer globally, it's gonna have a direct correlation to the prices of fertilizer in Ghana. But I'm quite pleased as Madam Nana during her opening remarks was very keen to mention that the government of Ghana is keen on having a local production for your fertilizer needs. So I think that is a step in the right direction, and kudos to that. So probably to delve deeper now, zoom in on the Ghana scene. I'd like to ask the question to Mr. Ernest from the Ghana Fertilizer Expansion Program. In your own opinion, do you feel that there has been shortages in the recent past as far as Ghana is concerned, and are there any measures that have been put in place to kind of negate?
Thank you, moderator. I think it's a big yes. Obviously, Ghana does not, we're not an island. We operate, just like Kido said, within the larger framework of the continent. So largely because we are not a producer ourselves, it's expected that we also had availability issues, both last year and even this year. And if you will follow the news, we've had a lot of issues about shortages. But to your other question about what we are doing to ensure, I think basically it has been the idea is all around trying to plan ahead, and the fact that we are even gathered here looking at the pricing is going to help in our planning. So in the last couple of years, what the ministry has done is to try and contract the companies that are going to supply in good time so that they can also plan ahead to bring in the products, because almost all our products or inorganic fertilizers are imported. And so usually before the preceding year, the subsidized products will be announced, and then the interested parties can come on board. And then the pricing also has to be very competitive. So these are the main things, ensuring that, which government is already doing in the last couple of years, that the contracts or the discussions with the private sector that are importing the products are done in good to facilitate planning, so that they can look at all these pricing internationally and be able to source the products on time. And the second thing is that ensuring whatever price that is agreed on is very competitive, and that when they bring it, they can also be able to run their businesses in the long term, so that it will be available and also affordable to the farmers. So these are the two things that government has been doing to ensure that the farmers, but you know, in spite of all this, we know that because of COVID last year, the market was really disrupted, of course. So plants around the world shut down because of obvious reasons. And because of that, the demand around the world was so high that naturally the prices were driven up. So, but we know that planning ahead would help us going for the 2020, be sure of what kind of pricing we can agree on to our farmers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ernest, for explaining. What I'm hearing from Mr. Ernest is there are deliberate efforts from the government of Ghana, as well as in conjunction with private players, to try and have a bit more planning and a bit more thought process in positioning your cargo in time for the farmers to use. But planning is all well and good. Are there tangible events or activities that the fertilizer expansion program is having? Because I had mention of plans to put up a facility to do production, and as we all know, NPKs in Ghana account for more than 50%. Are there deliberate efforts to augment the blending facilities in the country, to increase them, to try and mitigate this problem?
Yeah, so that is where GFEP, the Fertilizer Expansion Program comes in, where in the medium term, we are looking at having local production. Then you can sort of have some control over pricing. And it will also have to be competitive. So locally, there have been a lot of studies that have been launched, conceptual studies, financial analysis, and also the impact assessment studies that have been done about where we are going to site this particular plant using our natural gas. So the whole idea is that even though we are importing now, in the medium term, we look to also set up our own, which will give then these blenders or importers will then be off-takers from this particular plant and be able to supply the Ghanaian market. Because now we are bringing most of the products from overseas, Brazil, Russia, Europe, and all that. But if we set up our own plant, which will then operate competitively with these plants, then we can also have the companies don't have to go outside, but will then source locally and be able to supply our farmers at competitive prices. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the panel, I think it's a very good time to be in Ghana. There is actionable way forwards that I hear from both the panels, and I think going forward, your sector is going to be a force to reckon with. So I'd like to segue on to Ferrari, Dr. Prem. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. So in terms of diversity of products within the Ghana fertilizer space, do you think the market is very well diversified, given that NPKs account for more than 50% of all fertilizers consumed here?
Yeah, so one thing it is to try to get the fertilizers in the country. It's already a very expensive business. So it basically means that we should make the best out of it in terms of the kilograms of grains that you get per kilogram of fertilizers that we apply. I think there's a huge challenge there. As we already heard, it's difficult to already to estimate what the application rates are if we don't even know the hectare, the acreage that is grown by maize or another crop. So the database that VIFAA is developing, I think, would be very helpful in that sense. So I think increasing the nutrient use efficiency is probably one of the major challenges. If it comes to diversifying products, crops are different, soils are different, so in the end, we will need specific recommendations. The point just is that if your nutrient use efficiency, meaning that the kilograms of grains that you get per kilogram of fertilizers is still low, then looking for very deep may not yet be so beneficial, but that will come. There's also another reason to look into this diversification, which is the quality of food. You see, we all emphasize the yield, more and more and more yield, higher yields. But the quality of grains and even fruits and vegetables over the past decades have gone down. They have gone down dramatically. For instance, the zinc and iron concentration have sometimes even reduced by half. So you eat, let's say, 100 grams of maize, the amount of zinc you get would be half of 100 grams of maize, let's say, that you ate in 1960. So Another aspect to look into is the quality. 30% of the Ghanaians in North Ghana are food insecure, are nutrition insecure. So we should, I think, look into diversification, not just from a yield perspective. Of course, that's an economic driver, but we may want to also communicate with, let's say, a Ministry of Health to look at the health benefits and quantify that in financial terms, and with that also help to stimulate the diversification.
Very awesome, very well said, and very well researched. So probably as a leading question, what are some of the activities that Ferrari is engaged in towards attaining your sentiments?
Well, you see, one thing is to look at things technically, which is nice and wonderful, and you can do quite some things with it. But the reality on the ground is that people have to make it happen all together. And as I said, it's already difficult to get the fertilizers in the country, but once it's here, it should also be efficiently distributed. And in that whole value chain, there is also a lot to be gained, not just at the farmer field, but from getting it from the port up to the farmers. And it doesn't take just one person to direct that. You will have to involve all the stakeholders in the platform to join forces, to optimize that value chain. And that's one of the activities, apart from all the technical work that we do, that's one of the activities of stakeholder involvement, engagement. But we should realize that Ferrari is kind of operating in a different way. It's not that we come in as an alien program and drop some activities here and then we move out. Basically, the up of the platform is things that Dr. Akoto is doing from the crop directorate. Okay. We are basically only supporting. And we will have our meeting, by the way, tomorrow. And the design the constitution, who should develop membership. The only thing that we are doing is kind of backstopping. But we will be withdrawing from this process. The added value that can be generated when stakeholders work together is probably worth so much that, I mean, even subsidy programs could support those kind of initiatives. When we do the economic analysis, I can assure you that the benefits would be great. So those are the kind of things that we are trying, not just researching, but also mobilizing stakeholders to be active in the operational aspects.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prem. I think it's very important to have a very solid researcher such as Dr. Prem on your corner. So if the minister and the relevant state departments work hand in hand with Ferrari, I think he will provide a very and sober voice into trying to diversify the products that you have here and the way forward. So probably to rope in Madam Nana Aisha on that same vein, what are your opinions in terms of the diversity of products and what needs to be done in depth from a policy perspective as well as from the public sector?
Right, thank you. Just to build on what Prem said, I think that in terms of moving gradually towards products that are more soil specific is the way to go, instead of just looking more at crop specific fertilizers. I think the work that SRI had done in 2016 should be something that we should look at focusing and expanding on, and also begin to look at how we can diversify that. All of this diversification in terms of products is one thing, but then also ensuring like distribution, building on distribution channels is also something that is very key, and that is something that we should also begin to look at in terms of making sure that the products are at the farmer's gate at the right time, and then also helping farmers to be able to use the product right. We've been talking about the right use of fertilizer for quite a while now. There's been lots of investment in the extension sector, and we still have the problem of farmers not using fertilizer right. And that also has indirect impact on the quality of food. And even in terms of the soil fertility issues is also another thing that the wrong use of fertilizer can also impact. So for me, it's not just the diversification of the product itself. That is something that private sector has been working on for quite a while. Most of the companies are very competitive in the way that they improve some of the products that they bring up. So make sure that it addresses the current soil needs of the farmers or the soil needs of those geographic locations. and then also make them more competitive on the market. But the focus should also be on the use of the fertilizer by the farmer or at the farmer level. So the last mile delivery, ensuring more research and development of these products, or encouraging private sector to do more of these research, that in partnership with the government institutions, but also making sure that the farmers know how to use the fertilizer and use it correctly is also one thing that we should begin to focus more strongly on.
That's a very strong point from Madam Aisha. I think having the farmer at the center or heart of all our activities, all our research activities, will actually translate into more gains at the end of the day. So as a lead-on question, are there activities that IFAP is particularly doing to enhance this?
So we've been working with some private sector companies in terms of doing some nutrient omission trials, soil-specific, collecting soil samples and all of that. But we are more focused now on building capacity of in terms of use of fertilizer. We've also been working more strongly in terms of strengthening the distribution channels inland to also support the distribution of fertilizer, investing in financing opportunities or financing mechanisms, and also more of designing, just also providing technical support to the PPRSD, especially in terms of quality issues and monitoring, and then feedback into the policy process.
That's very good. I'll actually like to follow that up probably during the Q&A. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions from them or from these discussions, we'll also have a question and answer session where you can make your sentiments known and we can get to discuss on that. So perhaps in conclusion, going back to Mr. Ernest, you mentioned that there are plans to have local production here. I'm just curious as to how the thought process or the intent to have very bespoke formulations that meet the soil needs in Ghana.
Yeah, the process has already started. If you look at our subsidy program, since 2019, we've incorporated some new formulations, some that can be blended as well, which actually was based on research that was done. Our partners here, Soil Research Institute, with support from AGRA and others, I mean, it went through the mill, so more or less, these were soil-specific. They were tested, and these formulations were brought, not just with the macronutrients, but also we've incorporated certain micronutrients, which we know are very beneficial to the plants as well. So, and these particular formulations have been now put on our subsidy program. So since 2019, so if we even look at our current formulations of NPKs, all the NPKs have micronutrients that should be added, because it's based on science that with the little addition of these micronutrients, you can get at least about 20 to 30% more without using them. But it's also based on testing and knowing the information from the soil as well, which we are also encouraging. So the plan now is to also come down south and complete that soil map we are doing. Now, more or less, the study has been done from the Brown Ahafo region upwards, but towards the Volta region, Eastern and Ashanti region, currently with some other partners like OCP, that kind of study is also ongoing. And the intention is to be able to cover all our croplands and be able to have enough information that would then be translated into new fertilizer formulations, which would be soil specific, or let me say agronomic specific, ecological zone specific. Then we can really see it translating into the kind of output that we need. Because hitherto, we've always been using particular formulations countrywide. But with this advancement, we can begin to see much more output from the fertilizers that we are using. Yeah.
Interesting that you brought about being done in terms of how the blends are formulated themselves. In my opinion, it will be if you're doing physical blends, by the time it has been up north, it's already been segregated. So how would you address that?
Thank you very much, Sebastian. And before answering your question, I wanted to give a little bit of an overview on what Angre is doing to address all the challenges that we mentioned here, because something that my dad used to say is, if you can say what the problem is, but you don't provide any solution, then you are part of the problem. So Engrais is a project that is funded by the USA, and it has three main operational components. So the first one is support to the private sector, and through this component, we support the private sector at the regional level, that is at the ECOWAS level, and ensure that they have a voice. And this voice is through WAFA, which is the West Africa Fertilizer Association, and we support them to help them provide the necessary information to their members and have the dialogue with the institutions, the ECOWAS, the UMR, and other activities. So to the issue of the access to the fertilizer and the current global situation, the work that WAFA is doing was able to help some organization plan ahead and take some steps. And also, WAFA has worked with the ECOWAS to put together a credit line of 500 million that will able to be used to support the private sector in fertilizer, even when the government not be able to provide the fund because of different issues, right? Now, the second component is about the the input packages, right? Because fertilizer alone will not increase the yield. It is true, our focus is on fertilizer, but we shouldn't forget the seeds and the good agricultural practices. So we work on developing agri-input packages for the for all the countries in the region. And what we do is basically we work with the local research institute, and we ask them what are the advices that you give, and they will give it to us, and we package it, and we make sure those information are in the hands of the farmers, and we work on that. And we think currently there is a lot of research being done, right? Of this research sit on the shelves, so we don't even know if they are working. By making sure that the farmers has access to the agri-input packages, we will see them use it if they can, and if they cannot, we'll know that there were other causes besides them not having the information. Now, the third component of Engrais, which is the working with the public sector, right? To do two things: to make sure that the policies that are in place actually serve the farmers through subsidies. The subsidies system that are out there are smart. We work directly with the government. I see some of the partners that we work with here, and we make sure that the policies, the subsidy, are actually directed to farmers and are sustainable. Now, the second part of the policy is to make sure that the quality of the fertilizer out there is actually good. And in Ghana, we work with the PPRSD, and we've worked with the ECOWAS to develop a regional regulation, set of regulation to guide this process. And we work with the individual countries, including Ghana, to implement it. And by so doing, we'll make sure that with the public sector, the fertilizer is available. With the farmers, they know to use it. And with the policy, they actually have access to the right quality and have the support of their government to do that.
Comments. Once again, a round of applause for our panelists for taking the time to having joined us. You can take your seats. We really do thank you. And if you're a public or if you forget anything today, don't forget Kido has said he has $5 million to help you procure your fertilizers. So thank you very much, panelists, for having joined us. And I will take it back to our honorable MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. At this time, our energy level is going down. But I have good news. Lunch will soon be ready. May I quickly invite Mr. Fred to give us the demo on the dashboard? Very interesting platform that you love to see. So shall we receive Mr. Fred with a hand of applause? He will do this very briefly, and then we'll be leaving here. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So this is the famous Ghana fertilizer dashboard. Launching it today. So after the launch, it will be live for everybody to access. The URL is vifaghana.org. So if you access vifaghana.org with your phone or with your laptop, you will be able to access the dashboard. So on the dashboard, we have different sections, but it's mostly data on fertilizers that has been visualized. We can start with the About Us page, as every website has an About Us. There is information about people who have put the project together, partners we've worked with. All this information are there. And then we can also have data sets and help. For help, we have frequently asked questions that you can go there with some questions that you think you want to ask. They might already be answered there, so you can check that. Now going to the home page. This is the home page of the dashboard. We have 5 sections of the dashboard: fertilizer price, fertilizer use, fertilizer policy, plant directory, as well as product availability. And on the home page, we have a lot of each of the sections. We have one graph of each of the sections there. So here I would love to look at the first chart, which is the fertilizer price. And every chart is having a title. So this is under fertilizer chart, fertilizer price. But then we also have the title. It's quarterly international price and retail price trends. All the data on the dashboard, all the visualizations on the dashboard, you can download the data. Every data on the dashboard can be downloaded for your own analysis, as well as an image of every selection that you've done. So he will download, and then you can see how it looks like. So yeah, you can do that. I think the computer is a bit slow, but then you can download every data set on the dashboard. And this particular chart is a quarterly international and retail price trend. What we are looking at is looking at the FOB prices, which is the international market prices, comparing it with the prices we are selling fertilizers here in Ghana. And the source of the data on all the dashboard is always below it. So here the source is Argos Media, analyzed by africafertilizer.org. And I think per the discussions that went on, one person mentioned that to get information is very expensive. Getting access to international prices information is very expensive, around $10,000 to $15,000 a year for subscription. But then with the work we are doing, we've been partnering with Argos to give us this information for free. So here we are comparing urea on the international market and then the local market. And you can see that from the first quarter in 2019 to the last quarter in 2020, the gap between the international price and then that is a green line, and then the retail price in Ghana has been actually stable in a way. But then when we go to 2021, the first quarter, the international prices started rising, and it started rising sharply. So if you have information, that is why we are trying to promote data use with the dashboard. If you have information, data on this dashboard is updated every month. So every month we update this international prices as well as the retail prices. If you have this information, you can forecast and know when to bring in products so that international prices rising high would not affect you in your supply or in your fertilizer that you need for your country, in your demand. And you can see here that since the prices on the international market has gone up, now after about 3 months, it's starting to affect products in the country. And you can see as at August, prices of urea in Ghana has shot up. This is about 650,000, 650 Ghana cedis per ton. So when you do the division, you can get the price. But then the price has shot up, and the products are not even available. The small that is available, the prices are also high, and it affects our farmers. So if you have prices or if you have information early, you can make decisions. That's why we are trying to promote data use. We can look at the price website, or for every section, different subsections there, and it's always in the banner. When you click on it, it takes you directly to the prices or to the chart that you are looking at. The first one, we are looking at fertilizer price information, and here we are looking at urea. Here is yearly. Yeah. Can you select monthly? Yeah. Okay. So this is urea, and the products are where you can find the products and the prices. So here urea is selling in Ghana. This is Nabrongo urea is selling around 320,000, 120 Ghana cedis per 50 kg bag. And initially the price wasn't like this, but now the prices have increased. So now prices have increased all across. And this information on the dashboard is updated monthly. So check another product, maybe MPK 2310.5. And you can have a yearly. So with the dashboard, you can search for some of the products. You can look at a yearly average. So now this is the month of, we have only 2 price points, but then you can also have a yearly average. Now even the 2 price points, the prices are still high, and you can also look at a yearly average, which looks at the average of the year. And all the data on the platform, because we are national users as well, we have also put conversions into USD. So every data set on the platform, if it has to do with price, we have it in the local currency, which is Ghana cedis, as well as USD. So you can switch or toggle between. Please scroll down. Yeah. So here another fertilizer retail price, but this time around you can select multiple products to see the trend of the prices. Yes. And you scroll down. Yeah, so there are other charts on the prices page. I would like to go to the international prices. Here we are comparing the other one. We are comparing retail prices and subsidized prices, but this is the international prices data. And these are the FOB prices that we source from Argos. And from this particular chart, you can also still see that since 2021 January, fertilizer prices have started going up. Just in August, there are indications that some prices have lowered a bit, but then you never know what will happen unless you do your forecasting to know if the prices will still go up again or they'll start to lowering. So if you need information or if you have to use information, just knowing that these prices are going down in August, if you can also get September data first, the last week of September, if you have the September data updated on the dashboard and it's also going down still, then you can make your decisions early to be able to get products in for your company, for the country, or whatever other business that you need products in for. So there are other pages. The fertilizer use page. Here we are looking at fertilizer apparent consumption. There's been a lot of talk about Fertilizer Technical Working Group, which is one of the core things that africafertilizer.org will do. So here we are looking at apparent consumption of fertilizers in the country. And since 2010, these are the apparent consumption of fertilizers we have. On the dashboard, every color is representing a particular fertilizer. So here, as at now, based on the selection we've done, the orange color is representing NPK, the blue color is representing urea. So it's easy for you to actually have a comparison. And then you can also select different products. Here we have 2021. The 2021 is products that is the apparent consumption in 2021, but this is not yet validated by the Fertilizer Technical Working Group. But at the end of the year, when it's validated, this is what will be shown also on the dashboard. You can make selections to see how it looks like. Maybe you select urea, NPK. So the dashboard is interactive. Whatever selection that you make, that graph draws for you. And then you can download that specific graph if you want to use it for a report, or if you want to make further analysis with the data, you can download the data. For NPK and urea, you can see that it's not selected only NPK and urea, and the volumes are also still there for you to make your comparison. And you can see. Okay, scroll down. Yeah. So initially we watched a video from QED, and this is one of the main reasons why we are working with QED. This particular chart, the title of the chart, yeah, National Average Apparent Fertilizer Consumption. So here we are looking at the apparent consumption of fertilizers in nutrients, comparing it to the cropland. So we are using the denominator for cropland in the country to see averagely how we are doing as a country. So as against the Abuja Declaration target of 50 kilograms per hectare, this is what we are doing in terms of fertilizer consumption in nutrients in the country. But then the work we are doing with QED is to break this further down, because we understand that you go to some regions or some districts, they are even using more than the 50 kilogram per hectare, and some other regions is very low. That's how come it has affected the average. So we want to work with QED to get the district data so that we can actually extrapolate and work well with the data on apparent consumption, and work also towards fertilizer use by crop. Can we have the next? Yeah. So the next is product availability, and that is imports of fertilizers into the country. We have monthly imports, total fertilizer imports by year, imports by country as well. So let's look at the monthly imports. As a group, when we meet as Fertilizer Technical Working Group, we producers, the blenders, to give us information on monthly imports. Although we are working with GRA and Ghana Statistical Service, sometimes there are some information that are missing, and then we are requesting from them, we do requests for all this information so that we can come up with such charts. Can you select for 2020? So yeah, you can make selections. And in 2020, from January to December, this is how products came into the country, from January to December. And you can see that for the first half of the year, that is where products came into the country, because we know that our farmers need the fertilizers in the second quarter of the year. So the first half of the year, there are a lot of products that came in, and then later on, it died down. And in December, it started increasing because people need to bring in products for the next year. But as at now, we do have the January to August data also on the platform, and then we can, for this particular chart, as I mentioned, it's interactive. So you can view the data either in consecutive months or for consecutive periods. So between January to August, this is what we have, but let's look at consecutive periods. Here you can compare January, February, March of 2019, January, February, March of 2020, January, February, March of 2021. And this is what we are doing. So we are all talking about shortage or complaining about shortage. There are a lot of factors, but this is data that is showing what has been brought in within these first 4 months in the country. You scroll down. There, scroll down. There. So there are other charts, but I want to move to some important. Here we are looking at imports of fertilizers by country of origin. Let's look at 2020. These are the countries that are bringing in the fertilizers into Ghana, and these are the different years. But if you select one year, it becomes more clear. It becomes clearer. So here we are looking at 2020 and the countries that brought fertilizers into Ghana. You can see the width of the bar also represents others is a compilation of smaller volumes that came from other countries. And when you click on it, you can see them also on the side. But then for this particular imports by origin, we are visualizing them in two ways. When you go to the next chart, That is where we are having the imports visualized on a map form. So here you can select, say, 2020, select, say, 2020, where we have full data sets. And then you can select all the products. Depending on the selections you make, that is what the dashboard gives you. So in 2020, these are the countries Ghana imported fertilizers from. And when you click on the country, it gives you the exact products and then the volumes that came into the country. And as at now, we have also data from January to August. Although not validated, the information is available. But at the end of the year, it will be validated and then to be stamped to use for official statistics. Let's go to the next one. Here we have a lot of information on fertilizer plant directory. There's been products being produced in Ghana. For primary production, we don't have it yet in Ghana. That is what the Ghana Fertilizer Expansion Program is working on. That is the blending. We do have 6 companies who are blending currently in Ghana, and we have all the information also on the dashboard. So when you click on the markers on the map, it shows you information about the company, the capacity of the company, of their plants. Also, it was established as well as a picture of their plant that they use so that you can be able to work with these companies. If you need to contact them, if you need them to blend some specific products for you in your farm, you can also contact them for this activity. So the blue ones are the ones representing the blending plants. And we also have green ones, which are representing organic fertilizer producers in the country. We do realize that organic fertilizer composting mostly is being done in Ghana. So for the green ones, they're also representing the composting. We are working with PPRSD to update the list. But that as now, we have 4 of the companies being represented on the dashboard. And then recently, there is a company in Takoradi called Camus. They used to produce lime for cement. Recently, in 2020, they started production of agricultural lime. And we all know how important liming is. So we've also added them to the dashboard so that if you need to contact them for liming, you can do that as well. And then the last section of the dashboard is the fertilizer policy. Here is the annual government policy's contribution to subsidy price by product. And we all know that government has contributed since 2008 with fertilizer subsidies to help farmers. So this is the information visualized. A lot of people have this information already. Every year you get this information. But visualizing it, it gives a different meaning and feeling to it. As you can see, from 2010 up to 2018, government was subsidizing nitrogen products, which is urea and ammonium sulfate, as well as NPKs. But at that time, the NPKs were not specified. Any type of NPK was being subsidized. And in 2014, that was when there was no subsidy program. But then from 2019 to 2021, you can see that the government has specified some exact products that has to be under the subsidy, which has to do with more of a product diversity. So these are the exact products that the government has subsidized in 2019 to 2021. And for this particular chart, the deeper color, so the full bar is representing a price of the fertilizer. The deeper color is what the farmer pays for a bag of fertilizer. And then the lighter color is what the government tops up as subsidy to the companies who supply the subsidy. Can we have the full view from 2010? Yeah. So this is it. So for all the deeper color, the lighter color is what the government also pays as a top-up to the companies who supply this fertilizer for subsidy. So this is the information on the dashboard. Currently, we are also working on other indicators, like the cost build-up. We are working on a cost build-up to be able to add it to the dashboard so that you can also make analysis with all the cost that is involved when you bring products from abroad or when you bring products from the international market to the port of Ghana, the cost that will add up to it before it gets to the farmer. We are working on that as well. So when it's done, we'll also update it. And all this has been put together not by IFDC or Development Gateway, but by the stakeholders and the partners here. And we thank everybody for having us get this information and putting them together on the dashboard. We also plan to have a dynamic kind of dashboard. So the information will not be static. We'll also be working to see which other information is relevant to your work that you do, so that we work towards that and have visualizations from them to help you to use it every day as you need to. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fred. This is a very user-friendly platform. Mr. Fred, this is a very user-friendly platform. A lot of energy has gone into developing this. And I just recall the time of crisis when you tell them there's a global effect as far as COVID is concerned, people just find it difficult to understand, find it very difficult. So data is very relevant as a sector, very relevant. Thank you once again. Yes, we've gotten to the very important aspect of this program, and that is to get this dashboard working and made available to farmers, to all stakeholders. And at this point, we are honored to have with us the Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Honorable Mohamed Hadi, to deliver the keynote address and proceed to launch the program. Let's receive Honorable with a hand of applause. Thank you. Let's receive Honorable with a hand of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I must say that I'm here to represent my boss, the Honorable Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Agogoto. He would have wished to be part of this very important event, but today being Wednesday, tomorrow Thursday, cabinet and economic management issues to move the agenda of the nation push him away from here. So I stand here on behalf of him and the ministry to deliver his keynote address on this important event. So Ms. Nana Sewa Amaku, head resort deliverer at the presidency, chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food and Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food and Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, and his deputy ranking, Director of Crop Services at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, other directors present, rep from the Cocoa Board, development partners, key stakeholders present, our friends from the media, all protocol observed. On behalf of the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Ghana, it gives me great pleasure indeed to launch the VIFAA Ghana Fertilizer Dashboard today. As showcased by our partners from Development Gateway and IFDC today, the dashboard fills key fertilizer information gaps and will go a long way to supporting the government, development partners, and the private sector to respond to changes in the fertilizer market, ensuring that sufficient qualities and appropriate fertilizer reach farmers at the right time for planting. In Ghana, the food crop subsector is dominated by smallholder farmers whose crop practices are characterized by low use of fertilizer and quality seed. But through the Planting for Food and Jobs program under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the government empowers farmers with knowledge and skills to maximize the benefits of used subsidized input. The VIFAA Ghana dashboard shows trend across the years on government diversification of subsidized products and the increase in support to reduce the price paid by farmers. The government will continue to use the data on the dashboard to inform our current and future subsidy policy efforts to benefit all farmers, considering the changing condition in the fertilizer subsector. The government will continue to use the data on the dashboard to inform our current and future subsidy policy efforts to benefit all farmers, considering the changing condition in the fertilizer subsector. COVID-19 brought a fresh set of challenges. COVID-19 brought a fresh set of challenges the world has never seen before. With a reduction of fertilizer production globally, the effects of this were also felt here in Ghana, with high international prices leading to shortage of fertilizer in our farming planting season. Data is crucial now more than ever to inform the government, the private sector, and the development partners to navigate the effect of COVID-19 on the supply of fertilizer. As a mitigating effect, the government is also currently working on constructing fertilizer plants. Nana Sewa has hinted on it. And then we need more information on the processes that we have reached so far on this development, because it's key. Domestic fertilizer production is the solution. Ultimate information on the processes that we have reached so far on this development, because it's key. Domestic fertilizer production is the solution, ultimately. So as we launch the dashboard, I encourage all to leverage on the data to guide your decision making, as well as collaborative work towards food security, employment opportunities, and reduce poverty. I would like to thank our partners, IFDC, and the Development Gateway, who have worked with to co-design this dashboard and make this launch possible. I now officially declare launch of the Ghana VIFAA dashboard. Invite the team to come and have the handover of the concept note and guidance, so that you take the work from here. You have done so well, and we want you to continue to start the affairs of the program so that we get the full benefit. So I think the photograph and
we're just waiting for one.
For one place, okay.
Sorry, hold on. Please kindly.
Thank you.
You have to raise it up for some shots.
Excuse me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Minister, we are grateful. Yes, so the objective of this meeting has been achieved, and we are so grateful to all who made this possible. As I mentioned, the energy levels are gone down. But if you have some questions and some observations you want to make, please, we give you the space of 2 minutes. We'll take those comments and observations quickly within the space of 2 minutes, and we'll have the closing remarks, and we'll be leaving here. So the floor is ours. The floor is ours. You have a question regarding the demonstration of the dashboard or the panel discussion? You have some comments you want to bring on board? The floor is yours. Please, kindly come forward quickly. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mine is on the panel discussion. There was a question on when fertilizers are blended, before they get to where the farmer needs to use, they get disintegrated. I didn't get the answer clearly. That's what I want to know.
Honorable, the second person before I come in, quickly, kindly introduce yourself and proceed.
Okay, hello, good afternoon once again. I'm Samuel from Ghana Standards Authority. Yes, the dashboard is, as I said, as you can all see, it is very informative. But I'd also wanted to find out, I can see the dashboard is trying to kind of expose or maybe let everybody know whatever we have in the fertilizer industry. But I'm thinking we have missed one thing which might be also necessary, that is concerning standards. We've tried to bring out everything concerning the fertilizer, but we've left out standards. At least if or actors in the industry get to know the relevant standards that can be applied in the industry, I think it will also be very important. So maybe a button can be created where we can show relevant standards in the industry. The GSA already has a platform where we show all standards that we've developed. So maybe a link can be provided there and then redirected to the GSA platform where fertilizer standards can be shown. Thank you.
Thank you. Please kindly take note of the respective questions and then you respond accordingly. Director.
Thank you very much.
Director.
Thank you very much. I want to ask a question about the video. In attempt to define the cropland, there was something like say land under market and kitchen gardens as part of the definition. And can you throw a bit of light on that? Thank you.
Okay, so Fred, are you here? Please kindly respond. Okay, so Fred, are you here? Please kindly respond.
Yes, I think the first question the Honorable Deputy Minister asked, I would request Kido to respond to that. On the issue of standards, I think we have taken that appropriately as part of the feedback. We would get back to you. I'm sure you are from Ghana Standards Authority. We would get back to you on that, and then we'll see how we can build on that. So, Kido?
Thank you very much. So, I think the question was about segregations. When fertilizer is blended, it happens that in the course of the logistics, there is segregation. Element will get at the bottom, and you will not have a good distribution of the nutriment in the bag again. So what is being done to manage to train the blending companies and help them produce quality blend, that is, take into consideration the size of the different particles that they are mixing together, so that if the particles are of about the same size, that provides. Now, we are talking a lot about adding micronutrient, and this is often done with powder. And because the macronutrient, like if you add zinc, it's zinc sulfate, is a powder, and boron as well. So for that, the guide will explain how this addition can be made so that the powder actually sticks, don't segregate. So these are some of the things that we are working on. We also work on the logistic of fertilizer. To understand we are including Ghana, to understand the logistic of fertilizer, because a lot of the segregation comes also from the way fertilizer is handled. Between the blending and the farmers, there are multiple more what they are. Every time the car bounce, that's the fertilizer segregated there. So we are also working on understanding these logistic challenges and see what recommendation we could do. At this point, we don't have all the answers yet, but this is what I can say.
Yes. So on director's question, I think this is a very technical question. We would find their methodology very well, and then we can get back to you on the feedback. I also think Michael from your directorate is in this work with us, so I'm sure we would engage with them and give the feedback appropriately. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. To the very last item on our program, and then we'll be going for lunch. Closing remarks. May I invite Mr. Prime Ferreira, coordinator, to give us the closing remarks. Shall we applaud him as he comes? Thank you.
Thank you. It's afternoon already. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf, actually, of our regional director, Umu, I'm replacing her. She had other obligations. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. On behalf of IFDC, I wish to express my happiness for the successful launching of this VIFAA dashboard in Ghana, being the third country so far on the African continent. Now, having observed all the critical features and content of the platform, and having listened to all the questions, the discussions we had, and responses on this VIFAA platform, I'm convinced that it will serve our beneficiaries well and contribute to the promotion of various national agriculture programs in the country, and especially, of course, the flagship Planting for Food and Jobs campaign. So data-driven decision is something that is, of course, essential and crucial, and the VIFAA dashboard makes a significant contribution to that. So we'd like to encourage the users of the platform to share feedback. It's definitely needed, and useful suggestions, continued support in data provision to help make the platform as dynamic as possible, so that it becomes a tool that meets your own personal needs as well. Before ending, I would like to comment on the Development Gateway and africafertilizer.org for their great work done in visualizing all this data to support all the stakeholders. Let us take advantage of the platform to serve the clients as expected. So I wish you all a joyful lunch and a safe return to your various destinations, and encourage you to observe the COVID protocols rigorously, and we'll definitely meet again. Thank you very much, also on behalf of IFDC.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the program. May I call on Madam Charlene to vote of thanks. Let's applaud her. We are going for lunch, so we should be happy.
Now, good afternoon. So I'll just quickly do a vote of thanks because I'm standing between you and lunch. So Honorable Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Honorable Mohamed Tuferu, Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, Senior Advisor, Ghana Fertilizer Expansion Program, Nana, Director, Crop Services Director, Mr. Seth Osei Akoto, Head of Cocoa Pest and Disease Control, Mr. Saka Bauteng, our friends from the media, Distinguished guests and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good afternoon once again. On behalf of Development Gateway, let me close by thanking you for your generous attention throughout the launch of the VIFAA Ghana dashboard. Thanks to all keynote speakers and panelists, as well as active participants, for taking the time today to share the knowledge and experience with us all. Thank you very much. As senior dignitaries and my colleagues have highlighted throughout the program, without accurate, reliable data, we cannot adequately support Ghana's agriculture sector to navigate the negative effects of COVID-19. And in the long term, supporting the already established government's efforts to have specific blends to respond to the needs of the farmers. The VIFAA Ghana dashboard in today's discussion has also helped to highlight areas of collaboration across the different sectors. Development Gateway, our partners IFDC, the ministry, and many of the participants in the room today started this journey 3 years ago. Through a co-design process that led to the development of the dashboard we are launching today. We believe the journey continues as the focus now shifts to using the data and working collaboratively to make data-driven decisions. So I'll just quickly let you know what the next steps are as we wrap up. VIFAA is now also working on a regional dashboard, aggregating the data from Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, and other countries in the region to further informed decisions and collaboration across countries to address regional challenges, and we'll be in touch once that is done. In the coming months, we'll be working to publish cost build-up data and provide improved Ghana cropland maps, as shown by QED, to inform planning and fertilizer availability. Just to end, we look forward to engaging you all in the future, and thank you once again for helping make this launch a success. And have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Shall we have a word of prayer? Lord, we thank you for this opportunity that we can be part of this program, contributing to humanity. We pray for grace, we pray for strength, that going forward, our efforts will yield results for Mother Ghana, for Africa, and the world at large. We bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. We'll love to have a group picture here, especially all speakers right here. Spare us some few minutes for that picture, a group photograph. With 60% of the Shall we have all speakers, directors of agriculture, please kindly join. To boost agro-development, market and government actors are recognizing the importance of fertilizer, working to improve access to fertilizer by all farmers, small or large. Both business actors and policymakers require solid data to inform their strategies. However, data on African fertilizer use and markets remains insufficient. To achieve its agricultural potential, the continent needs a vibrant fertilizer supply chain and relevant market information. The AfricaFertilizer.org website fills this knowledge gap, providing market actors, farmers,
please, directors of agriculture, please